Hi, welcome back to Navigating the Unknown. Thanks for being here. We're glad you're here. I'm Andrea Stern of SternRep and AskSternRep. These webinars are allowing all of us to ask these questions and figure out what the questions are. Allowing them to come up helps us to get to all the answers. So thank you to APA LA for bringing me on to do these with you. What a great resource APA is in general. It's fantastic, and you should all join immediately. Right, Hugh?
Absolutely.
Right. So this week we have our co-host, LA photographer and APA LA board member Hugh Kretschmer, and two guests. Again, part two, we call it. Artist rep Mary Dale from Big Leo and artist rep Tracy Tarek from Poppy Creative are joining us. Hello, you both. Hello, you both. Three. Hello. So let me turn to Hugh first.
Hi, Andrea. It's great partnering with you on these webinars, especially being fans of AskSternReps as we build community within our industry. I've been on the board for about 2.5 years now, and it's my pleasure to be a part of how we're delivering the message and supporting our photographers. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this particular webinar. I just want to say welcome, ladies. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And back to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Hugh. So today we have our two fabulous reps, and they happen to be my friends that I'm starting to call my rep posse. Hope you guys don't mind.
Don't mind at all.
Okay, good.
Love
So
it.
Mary, you are the founder and creative director of Big Leo Productions, established in 2003. It's an agency representing a constellation of visual creators with expertise ranging from food, interiors, lifestyle, hospitality, and beauty. Profoundly influenced by her tenure at Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia as photography editor, she has spent years cultivating a stellar roster of talent, continually evolving with clients' needs and adapting to new markets. She also enjoys splitting her time between her tiny New York City apartment and her spacious yard in Richmond, Virginia, along with her tiny Viking studio that is named after her tiny Viking son.
Yes.
And you said last week he's 7.
He is 7. He just turned 7 in May.
Good age. Tracy is the founder of Poppy Creative Agency, representing photographers, prop, and food stylists. Tracy has over 15 years experience in the photography world as an art director for big home furnishing companies. Her passion for compelling visuals and hoarding of shelter magazines keeps her fire stoked. I like that. She is also one of the co-founders of Focus on Women, an organization created to give women creatives a seat at the table. She thrives on multitasking and is currently on the road with her husband and 2 Aussies enjoying a cabin in Maine. Tracy's favorite treat is rosé wine and a good stinky cheese. Mary, what's your favorite treat?
Treat. Well, if we went the drink route, I'm going to have to say I like a good mezcal Negroni.
Ooh.
But other than that, I'm more of a savory than a sweet. So for treats, I guess Mexican food is always a treat for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say donuts.
Oh.
Hugh, what about you?
Devil's food cake. That's my
Good one.
Hugh and I could hang out more than you two.
Yeah. Tracy, yes. You the stinky cheese and me the I like a stinky cheese.
Thank you both for doing this part 2 with us again. I have to say, this is really special format for me because I'm so used to working on my own as a rep. I often call it my bubble. But you two, these talks we're having here allow me to discuss all the stuff that goes on in my head. Like I get to word it and process it and discuss it and share it. So I love this. And you're getting a very honest conversation because the 3 of us have been meeting on Zoom every week since March, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we touched on so much last episode about getting a rep, what it takes, what we do as reps. Look back at our last episode if you want more questions on that. We have a few we'll cover today, but mostly we're going to move on to marketing, what makes a solid, good, great portfolio, and what is needed on a creative call and in a treatment to get you the job. Very important. So after these topics, I'll be asking if these two have any secret negotiation tips to share with us in secret. So stay tuned for that. And Hugh and I will be staying after that to have a wrap up, which we've really enjoyed if you want to stay for that. So attendees, please ask questions. We did come up with a lot of questions that were covered outside of how to get a rep. Oh, I said that about episode 7 on YouTube. But Hugh, will you ask 4 of these questions that came in from people?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with
started.
do I need to have clients to be considered by reps?
What do you gals think?
I think we covered some of that last time,
We
but
did.
yeah, we were saying, not necessarily if we feel like the work is there and that we have a market for that work. If the work is well produced and we feel like we have a place for it, I think we could, leveraging the relationships that we have with really great work. I don't think necessarily. It doesn't hurt, of course, because there's so much that goes into bringing up somebody to speed on our sites and rolling out marketing. And I think that work is unpaid until work starts to come in. So it doesn't
agree
hurt.
with everything to the T. To the TT. Right, Tracy?
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Next
agree.
question, Hugh. So we have 3.
Yeah, Dominic asks, if you can't find a rep or can't find the right fit, could you just use a consultant to negotiate and bid on jobs?
Want me to answer? Or you, Tracy, you answer.
Well, I've definitely done that in the past.
The consulting?
Yeah, and for bidding.
Mhm.
Definitely, and I've agreed to it when it's someone I'm interested in, maybe. So it was kind of a good way to test.
Someone who what? Oh, you're getting to
Someone I
know
was
them.
interested in repping,
Mhm.
kind of made it a little bit easier to say yes to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think consultants are consultants. I would not say they do what we do. So I would have to pretty much say no to that. It's different. Estimating is different often than consulting.
Yeah.
Sure.
But do you guys believe that the photographer should experience some of that on their own, to try to negotiate on their own, to try to do the estimating on their own, just to get a feel for it?
I know we're all saying yes, and I agree with all of us, but I also think some photographers it's just not their thing. If you're really not good at it, reach out to a rep to do it for you. Reach out to a consultant or a producer maybe.
And that in itself is experience. If you do experience it, you know that you're not good at it. I think that is a good indicator that you need help with it. So
yeah, producer will help a lot too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next question is from Megan. Can you expand on the topic of how your 25% fee is calculated? Is it typically taken just from the day rate creative fee?
I always think something about the timing of 25% means 100% of your time equals 25% of our rate. And I also think the day rate creative fee, yes, we definitely take it from your creative rate, day rate, creative fee.
Yeah, I'm wondering if she's asking if there's like any other profit that the photographer would make that you would be taking part of that too.
Some do. I think some do some production
Yep.
costs.
Yeah, I think there's production that we would take if we produce the job. But I think for the most part, that commission comes to us on every negotiated fee within the estimate for the photographer.
Yes.
Sometimes
your time is our time.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. One more, Hugh.
Oh, Adriana asks, should an artist signed in development send their house accounts when they aren't full members of an agent's roster?
I think in development, meaning that the rep and the photographer are in discussion, but haven't signed the contract yet. Do we get house accounts if we're just in discussion? There's no rule to this, it's
Yeah.
depends.
It depends.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how much work we're doing for you. I mean, I think if we're not onboarding you to our roster, meaning, doing an edit, coming up with a marketing plan, all of that stuff that takes work. If we're literally freelancing with you, almost like on the consulting side, freelancing with you, then, we're probably only doing it for the jobs that we're working with you on. So I guess the answer would be not until you're fully on board. But then there's a lot of work we're not doing until you're fully on board, or that you shouldn't expect us to do until you're fully on board.
Good
So
point.
you guys allow for your photographers to have house accounts that you do not collect that 25% from? So if it's a previous client, let's say for Toyota or whatever, that someone's been consistently shooting from, do you take 25% of that?
I don't have an absolute answer to that. It depends on the situation.
Yeah, it does depend on the situation. My quick answer is yes, and it goes back to what I said before about, one of the people who works with me at Big Leo has a really good way of looking at it, which is that anything that you bring to the table that we're taking 25% of, you're taking 75% of anything we're bringing to the table. Never thought of it that way, but I would say again, it goes back to all the work we do that is unpaid. We're all in this together to get more regular work in. And I would say if you feel like you're parting with commission on a regular basis with no return, or feeling like you're getting a return from your rep, it's a discussion like what came up last week with a photographer, one of the questions or the last session. And I think it's a valid discussion to have. We've definitely had people who've been out in-house somewhere who've parted with a lower commission, but it was for a certain period of time so that we could get our feet wet and see what we could develop together. And when more work started to come in, then we were like, okay, now we're officially at our contracted 25%.
Yeah, I've done the same. I think it depends on a lot of different factors with the artist, and it's a discussion I have with everyone before I sign them, and they're all different for me.
Yeah,
it's different.
It depends.
Yeah,
and it's part of the negotiation, and what's fair to everybody. So how has marketing changed right now, do you think? So let's really get into marketing. Marketing has changed with COVID. I'm getting a lot of questions. Should I do this now? Should I be sending email promos now? Has marketing changed in general for you guys during this time?
I think in the beginning it changed for us, and I was definitely holding back from some of the stuff I would normally do. It didn't feel like the right time, so I waited a longer amount of time in between when I reached out. And it also became more personal. There was something about it that became more just checking in on people and are you okay, and less about like, I'm here if you need me to shoot for you.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of conversation for looking for work, more about how are you, what's happening, and I hope you're okay, and we're still here.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I totally agree. I feel like it was really putting out feelers personally to people we work with to, again, see how they were doing. We were very cautious about our tone, and we continue to be to some degree, making sure that we are empathetic and reaching out to our clients with the understanding that some of them probably won't be coming back to their jobs either. So it's, being aware that things have changed a little bit, and being aware of tone, I think, is really important right now.
Yeah. I mean, that leads me to ask, let's define marketing. What is marketing? Because I always answer that part of it is being a human connection. That's how I do it. I mean, how do you guys define marketing?
Yeah, I think it's anything that you're doing to roll out your expertise, your work, your personality. I think all of that is part of marketing. Some people do it more aggressively, and some people do it more organically. We tend to be on the more organic side because we want our connections to be more organic and authentic. But yeah, I think it's everything that encompasses your work, your process, your personality, because all of that, we are the business. We're not putting out a product that's disconnected from us. It is us. So if you're a photographer, it is you, it is your process, it is your work. So it's putting all of that out there.
I feel the best sales method is the photographer, because that is what we are selling. And I also think when I said the human side, it's gotten more human, but that's still marketing. Just because we're being really human and not salesy doesn't mean that's not marketing for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think marketing is about really being consistent with who you are and having that come across in a really human way so that they get a sense of who you are as a person as well as a shooter.
That is so true. I mean, that's, I think, what clients really want. Who are they? And
Yeah.
that's hopefully why, well, you choose a rep that really represents who you are. I also see it as just connecting with people to make a lasting impression that sticks so they can easily find us in the future. I mean, to me, that sums up my marketing agenda.
I love the idea of the organic approach versus the aggressive approach. That's bodes well with me, you know, and I love that.
What do you, Mary, when you said that, what do you mean? Can you define that to us?
I just mean, you know, it's what we talked about before on the last time when we were talking about artists finding reps, you know, just knowing your audience and knowing that you're a fit so that when you're reaching out, it's not trying to put this square peg in a round hole and knowing that you're not relevant to someone. It's having relevance. It's just finding a natural way to reach out to people that, to your point, isn't salesy. I know that's a hard thing to define, I guess, but I don't know, it's coming across in just an authentic way. If you genuinely know that what you have to offer is relevant to the person you're reaching out to, I think it kind of automatically comes across in an authentic way because you've done your research and you know who you're reaching out to.
I find that people really respond if I'm authentic. And they really respond. Like I can get so much more information if I'm warm and available myself, even vulnerable somewhat, you know, I can, it's met with we're really kind to each other and we open up. It's a good way to get info. Do you guys have like a marketing plan? How do you do things? What do you do?
I definitely every year have a marketing plan for each of my artists. I can't say that we always stick to it.
Yeah.
We start out with a great plan and sometimes, you know, things happen like COVID. But we definitely try to plan out how often are we emailing them and how often are we sending printed pieces and who are we calling, who are we following up with, that kind of plan.
Yeah, same. It does, it is hard to stick to it when things come up, or if something falls behind a couple of weeks, then you've pushed the next thing a couple of weeks too. And so sometimes things get a little off track. And certainly right now things are very off track, trying to figure out how to maintain marketing. But yeah, I think we come up with something with everyone, whether it's making sure we have tailored lists, making sure that we're, I like to do very targeted outreach. So we try to make sure we have all those things sorted out, how often we're going to send to people, and definitely making sure the photographer's sending for themselves as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You too, Tracy?
Oh, absolutely. I feel our marketing doesn't work if we're not both doing it.
Agreed.
That's interesting. That's a later, I guess I'll wait. Yeah, for me, I also think there's like two sides to it. One is, as you were saying, Mary, about the lists. Like half of my time, I think, is about this general search. Who are the clients?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the right people that we need to contact? What's their info? Connect with them on LinkedIn. Try to follow them on Instagram. Like that takes a lot of time.
Could be full-time.
So it's this general marketing. What'd you say?
Could be full-time. Yeah, it's a big job.
Yes.
And people move a lot.
That's a big job.
People move a lot, and we're in a situation right now where, again, there might be people who aren't coming back to their jobs. They might end up freelance. So you want to keep in touch with people, you know, especially that you're working with, as you know, follow where they're going if you can. But it's a lot of time and research, for sure.
Right. A lot of follow-up. It's like that engaging and follow-up, which I think is today's marketing. Like engaging.
Engaging. Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
How can people get better at marketing? Like if someone's not good at marketing, they don't have a rep, what do you suggest? How can they get better at it?
Well, I think what we talked about before, like creating a plan, I think having the plan in the first place is step one. Sticking to it, you know, that's another issue that I think we probably all could spend lots of time on. But I think having the plan in the first place so that you at least have something to keep referring back to, whether it's a calendar that keeps just blaring in your face, like send this up, send this update. And if you don't do that task, just make sure it keeps blaring in your face until you do. There are lots of different tools out there for making sure you check off a box before it leaves you alone. But I think that helps. We're all busy. I get that. But I think that just having a place where you can organize it is really helpful.
Right. CRM. A CRM is a good way to.
And a schedule. Yeah. Everything that comes up, I make a list and then I give it a date.
Yeah.
So I get to it. And you're right. If I don't do it, it moves forward on the calendar.
Yep.
Love that one. We have a question from Shelley. What does being consistent in marketing look like? What should be thought about in that process of reaching out? What does being consistent in marketing look like? Well, in that, I like to schedule how many weeks apart between email promos. You know, as you were just saying, Mary, you really schedule everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's consistency. Any other?
Outreach and being consistent with who you're interested in contacting, you know, like really keeping track, notes.
Right.
What did I send them last time? What's changed for them this time? What am I going to do next? You know, and remembering to consistently reach out.
Yeah, I agree. And I think honing your own personal list down to your top 20, you know, helps you maintain that, and making sure that, you know, you sent a promo, has it been a year? Maybe, you know, you have to think about, at least before, when people were in their offices, a promo comes across their desk. And I think that before they can even process it, file it, possibly circular file it, who knows, but whatever they're doing, before they even turn back around, there's 5 more on their desk. So that's the way it rolls. And if you don't keep your name, minimally, your name and your work rolling in front of these people, they're very inundated. They have so much creative coming at them every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mentioned on our episode with the 2 art producers, and Sandra at FCB in Chicago, Sandra Sanchez, said she keeps the keywords. She does searches on our email promos to see what keywords were mentioned. And that's how she keeps her lists of us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was interesting. So did we answer that? What should be thought about in that process of reaching out? I think we've said that, and really know your audience, as you.
Yeah. So you can speak to it, you know.
Right.
There's a question that came up from Juliet. Which CRM program do you guys use?
We use Copper.
I use direct mail.
We use Contactually. There are a bunch out there, for sure.
Right. I feel like you have to figure out what's most important to you that CRM provides. Like for us, we were searching for something that would remind us when was the last time we emailed someone. Like it was automated.
Quite frankly, Gmail's doing that now. If you look, if you're using Gmail, it's popping up saying, you know, this last correspondence was 5 days ago. Do you want to reply? So there are definitely ways to do it, to organize the contacts and your outreach.
Yeah.
So we have another question from Ted. How much input do you want from your photographers regarding marketing, like marketing direction, images used, mailing lists, etc.?
Lots. I mean, I want it to be a collaboration. I mean, I definitely think it's a sit down or virtual sit down these days of who do we want to reach? What work do we have to show? To Tracy's point, what work did we last show? And what do we want to say here? You know, is this are we reaching out to a beauty client? Do we want it to be all beauty stuff? Like whatever the case may be. Yeah. But I think it would be both people working together.
And I think for me, it invigorates or it gets me so much more excited and energized when we play off each other. I want your ideas. We discuss them. It just helps me brainstorm, not to be alone doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yeah. And it's more so now than ever. more so
Definitely.
than ever. The
I agree, but why do you say that, Hugh?
just because I think there's so many more photographers, and I think personality and relationships play into the relationship with, so I just more so than ever. I really believe that. So for my, with my agent, we coordinate about which I'm going to take on, what she's going to take on, and make sure there's no overlapping, because we don't want to hit one person too many times. And now we're meeting, every other week together with the whole group over Zoom. So, I mean, everything's kind of subsided right now, but gearing up, we're still doing it. So.
Do you guys feel like marketing for photographers doing their own marketing is more important nowadays versus it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
I do. I mean, I think that the venues for it are different. Now we have so much a breadth of social media where we really get to know photographers. And I think that, I think it is different. There are more platforms for it. There's more places to put the work. So I think so. Just by virtue of, how digital media has grown.
Right. I think it's important to, because of Instagram, like if you're not on Instagram, how are they going to find you these days?
Yeah.
It's not like it used to be where it was talked about on set and, that's kind of where you got your information was from, as a photographer maybe was being around other creatives, but now you really have to be in a number of places.
Yeah. And I think because of social media, the clients want to know the photographer. They want to have a sense of them more than ever before, because before they couldn't really, unless it was through us or they came in for a meeting or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us too, being able to go on those portfolio reviews, that's kind of
right.
We can't go there right now.
So even right now, more than ever, they want the human, they want to know the photographer as well. So I feel our job is to get the photographer known to them.
Yes.
This is who they are.
Yeah.
A sense of them.
Yeah, definitely.
What ways have you experienced, or can you think of spontaneous, creative, out of the box type of marketing? And I can start with one that happened this last week. A photographer wrote me a very long email. Normally I would not read the whole thing, but I did, the way he wrote it. And then at the end he said, if you've gotten this far, I'm going to send you your favorite baked good. How fun. And then I wrote back, I was like, cool, I get my vegan gluten donut. And then in the mail, he sent me a gift card for vegan gluten donuts.
Nice.
This is so creative.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Yeah. Out of the box marketing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've had everything from coffee sent to us, with a whole entire coffee photographed coffee project in a promo, which was really, really fun. Same thing with tea. I think definitely chocolates we've had before too. It doesn't always have to be those types of treats. We had a photographer some years ago that I really wish we had gotten more response from, but it was one that I had told you that don't think that they haven't gotten it just because you don't get an immediate like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, because a year later someone said it was one of their favorite promos. But we had a photographer who had this really amazing light bulb logo, filled empty like light bulb things with yellow M&Ms, which was his color, and did a whole stop motion video of those being assembled, put in boxes, loaded onto his car, and then also sent them out. And it was just such a fun promo. The whole thing came together. The video, supported the physical piece and the box and the M&Ms. It was really, really fun.
And that just leads back to, it shows more of who you are.
Yeah.
Our marketing should show who we are, who the photographer is, and that right there, that's a fun photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I had more to say and I to take notes. What do you do when people don't respond to you? Oh, that was what I was going to say. Because you just said that, Mary.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
If they don't respond, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I think the reality is what we said before. Everybody's really busy,
Yeah.
and they probably get, tons and tons of emails a day. I would not assume it's not getting in there. 'Cause like I said, it was a year later at a lunch meeting actually, and I was told, "Oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite promos." And I thought that would have been nice to know last year when the photographer was really bummed out that we didn't hear anything back.
Yeah.
But that happens, and you just cannot take it personally. I think they make impact, and they make incremental impact. That is why you have to be consistent, because if you don't keep sending it, it will disappear. It's like anything else. I mean, do you remember the last, email solicitation you got if you didn't get it a lot, if you don't get it consistently? So,
Incremental. I feel like that's the key word here.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay. Do you have a set marketing schedule, and what does it include? So you do email promos, mailers in our past days before this COVID.
Right.
What else is in your regular schedule programming?
We do a quarterly magazine that used to be printed. It went digital this time.
Same as a newsletter type?
Well, yeah, it's literally like, well, now it went from magazine to newsprint. So now it's a newspaper.
Okay.
An actual newspaper that you would get in the mail. But we created them digitally this time, so you could flip through it on the email.
Yeah.
It's in the emailer.
It's really nice. You should check it out. Yeah, we've done agency books before, where we're printing, a booklet with every artist and their portfolios in it. And we definitely try to do, quarterly news. Well, we were doing monthly newsletters, but again, in March, we just weren't sure what the tone was. We wanted to make sure we were assessing, everyone's situation before we continued to bombard them with stuff that maybe wasn't just relevant at the moment. But we have 7 printed promos just in the queue that we don't know where they're supposed to go. So those are on hold, but typically we would do those quarterly as well, at least as an agency. And we would hope that the photographers also do something like that.
Yeah. I set it up for part comes from me, from SternRep, about them, and part comes from them. That's how I divide it up. What do you have any? Oh, I said that one. I find that many photographers without reps do marketing, and how important it is that photographers do this with reps. And I know we did mention this. I do find it really interesting how I'm noticing so many photographers without reps fully do their own marketing, and it seems like a drastic difference when they're repped. I don't know if you guys are also seeing this.
Do you mean before they became repped, they were doing more marketing than they do once they're repped?
Yeah.
That yes, but also the difference between repped and not repped photographers. I guess they have to.
Yeah.
But it just surprises me how good they are at it. And when they get repped, they don't seem as good at it anymore. Or they think it's our job.
Right. I think they let go a little.
Look at you.
Yes.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we talked about did we talk about last time? Like myths, like that's a myth that as a rep, you're not going to have to do marketing anymore.
Exactly. Just imagine the efforts though. If you're doing all the effort before and you join someone and they're doing the effort and you're doing just as much effort, that's just a win-win. If it drops off, then it almost, you're canceling it out in a way. So I think you should definitely join forces and both be out there at it for sure.
Hugh, what are you saying?
Yeah, I was just going to wonder if we should move on to portfolio at this point.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, wait.
Unless you have any, there's so many questions.
There's some questions from people. We should answer them. Oh, first, do you ever call people? Tracy, you just said call.
Do I ever call people? Sure.
Yeah. Cold call?
Not as much as I used to. But yeah, sometimes I do. If I know I can reach them, and it's not just like a reception number. Yeah.
I really don't, because I don't want people calling me, so I don't call them.
Yeah.
Unless it's a set call.
Yeah.
I agree. Same as Tracy, that I used to a lot more. And I think that there just came a point at which texting was king and nobody was picking up the phone anyway. And it was really, okay, how am I going to reach this person? Well, how's my time better spent? And I'm the same, you know, a cold call is tough. If you don't know someone, it just off the bat, you're starting with tension because they're like, who's this and what do you want?
Right.
You know, and they're, who knows what they're in the middle of, you know? And if you are
Right.
going to call somebody, make sure you're saying, is now a good time? Just start right away with, is now a good time? I think it's
Agreed.
certainly.
Okay, we're going to quickly ask these questions so we can jump into portfolio. Oh gosh, so much comes up with you guys. We're going to have to do a part 3.
Should I ask the questions? How often should we be sending email promos during the pandemic?
I say once a month, same schedule.
Yep.
You guys, has it slowed down because of the pandemic? Email promos?
I think a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, at least the past few months. I think
True.
I feel people are ramping back up a little bit, but I still think it's once a month is a good gauge because people are still trying to navigate the unknown, as this webinar is called. To figure out what we're doing and how we should move forward. So I think doing more than that might be taxing on people who are trying to figure this out.
And that's from John, and he also asked, I used to alternate between printed promos and email promos once a quarter. I guess that's good, right? I mean, do a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day. Another question from Yuri. I usually don't send promos in July and August because people take vacations, but now life is different. Should we wait to send our email promos? I say no. People are working right now. No more summer vacation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are still working.
Yeah,
it's true. And I've also found that for so long in this industry, people told me everyone's dead in August, and that has just never been the case. I don't think for you either, Tracy, because we shoot so much holiday, and summer is huge for holiday, and we've just never been slow. I mean, everyone's slow now, but I would say for us, it was more post, December holiday into New Year was the more quiet time. But I think there's never really a bad time. What you don't want is just your promo to end up in the largest pile of mail the person is going to have for the week. So maybe strategize it that way.
right.
Whether it's, they're back from vacation Monday and they're going to come back to a pile of mail. Maybe I better not try to make it land on that Monday.
And for emails, I always think Tuesday and Wednesday are good. Maybe Thursday, but not Friday or Monday.
Yeah.
But what time? I've always tried to figure out what time is best for an email promo. Do you guys have a theory?
I mean, I'm typically a Tuesday through Thursday myself, but and it depends on what it is. If it's something that's relevant to a weekend, because it's a holiday and we're rolling something out that relates to that, we'll do it on a Friday. But it'll be in the morning because you don't want people who have checked out of their summer Friday, at least in the past. And again, we're navigating new stuff, but in the past, that's how we would sort of gauge.
Yeah.
If it was relevant to.
I think we get the best response on Tuesdays, and oddly, when we send our newsletter on Fridays, we get the best response. And I don't know if that's because they have more time to look at it or.
Yeah.
That's
how I feel about posts, social media posting, is people are scrolling in the mornings and in the evenings and on the weekends.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
What time, do you have a time for email promos? What do you think is the best time?
Well, my social media person would tell me, her goal is always to have it go out, I think by noon on Friday.
By noon.
Tuesday. We try not to do it first thing in the morning.
Interesting. Two more questions. Nicola asks, how often do you send out newsletters? I do 4 a year and was wondering if that is too little.
Emails?
Like an email?
I'm assuming an email. And for me, I call it a newsletter. I do 4.
Yeah. I think if it's more robust and it's a newsletter, then that's good. The keeping in touch style, what I would call a postcard back in the day, I think have to be more often because they are unfortunately just so disposable. And I won't get into the environment thing for me there, but I think those are the things that you just want to be a reminder of who you are. But the newsletter stuff, I think quarterly is fine.
Okay. Question from Matt. What if a client wants to work with a photographer on a specific job, but stated they won't go through an agent? I can try to answer that quickly. I would really talk to them because it's probably what they're saying is they don't want to pay more for your agent. They have this myth of a thought that we charge extra. Actually some parts of our industry do that, which I recently found more in fashion.
Yeah. Makeup and don't makeup agents charge like.
That's true.
Yeah.
They can, huh? Like talent,
Mhm.
extra 15%
Yeah.
on top. But that's probably that is what the question really is. So that is what
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah. You should get to the heart of that. And I think, being selfish here, it really means a lot to us if you guys have our back too. If you can just say, I understand, and give us a moment to, demystify ourselves here, because, we're not bad people. We're not here to chase your clients away. And if we let the client think that too, they'll keep coming at you for doing work without your agent. We're here to protect you, and we want you to get what you deserve. We're not here to chase the work away.
On the photographer's side, I believe that kind of wholeheartedly. It's better two heads than one. But I also think the agent can, work behind the scenes, and then it just is presented by the photographer. So,
When you say behind the scenes, Hugh, you mean they shouldn't at that point get involved?
No, they don't need to get involved, but I'll be the front man, but I work with my agent to put together the negotiation, the treatment, whatever it needs to be, but I'll present it,
And is that only when a client comes to you with that kind of request?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you working with a rep.
So.
You could say, well, I'm going to work with my rep, but I'm happy to be the person in communication with you. I'm not going to not work with my agent.
Yeah, but clients, I guess they don't need to know, but
yeah,
I think it's just they don't know what a rep is, and we have to explain it a little bit and warm
they
them
might
up.
think it's an impediment in some way to getting to you, but I agree with Andrea that it just translates to we don't have the budget or we don't want to pay to me a little bit. So
yeah,
I have some clients that didn't know what rep was, so it's often it just educating.
Yeah,
right.
All of this is educational.
Well, that might be the same kind of client that doesn't know what a digital tech is. Just saying. I'm just kidding.
No, or usage.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many good topics here. I feel like we have to do this webinar every minute together.
Do we move on to portfolio?
I know, right?
Yeah,
we really have like 15 minutes left. We've seen so many cases where photographers are getting and not getting the job based on the portfolio. Do you agree? Like, how important is the portfolio? Is that the thing?
Well, I mean, I think it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's everything, because your work is everything. So the portfolio has to be well edited. Back when we were doing more printed books, I think these days we only require everyone to have one because it was for presentation purposes. We would go to agencies, and hopefully that will come back at some point in the future. But back in the day, we had 5 copies of every book, and they were divided into genres. Then we started to consolidate them into an overview of people's work. So yeah, they're really important, and I think they have to be really well edited. We used to say no filler when we'd be looking through to edit books. We're like, that's filler. That's not a great shot. That's filler.
It makes it there
because, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So very important, the portfolio.
Very.
Yeah. I always say a good portfolio could have a terrible rep and they'll still be working. Like we are dependent on the portfolio. It comes down to that.
How important is presentation of that portfolio? Simple? Do you guys prefer simple?
Well, here in this context, I'm talking website and Instagram and printed portfolio. Same thing now.
Yeah.
But Hugh, for your question, do you want to know about the actual book?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some portfolios that are like completely ostentatious, and then others that are tastefully done, and I'm like, you don't need all that. Just something tasteful. It's the work.
As long as the images are great, you could put it in whatever, pretty much. You don't want to look like a student.
Right.
You want to look like a professional.
Yeah, you want it to look professional, well put together, clean. Yeah, it doesn't have to be over the top. I mean, if your personality is, and your work's personality is very, vivacious and vibrant, and the cover of your book is bright pink, I mean, that's fine. They're going to get past that and really dive into the work ananyway. But
And I
it doesn't
love
have to
that.
be, you don't want to make it cumbersome for the client to look at. Number one, I've had artists with just gigantic 16 by 20 books that the client's like, I can't even put this on my desk.
Right. It's stressful for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. You just want to make it easy to look at, easy to handle and manage. And the work.
Let's just jump into websites with that same theory. What is a good website? What would you guys say? What's a not good? What's a good website? I mean, it's like the portfolio.
I mean, I think same, just simple
Mhm.
and clean, just really easy to get to the work. Another really important thing to me is that there is a way to view a thumbnail view of your work, because I think giving clients the ability to see an overview, it doesn't have to come up right away, but if there's an easy way to just give a client an overview of the work so that they can scroll kind of to the images that they're gravitating to.
So it's the thumbnail. When it pops up, it's the thumbnails, not just the individual.
And it doesn't have to be right away as long as getting to that view is relatively easy. I just feel like clients like to see an overview.
Yeah.
So overview, go on, Tracy.
Sorry, I was going to say the names of your categories too.
Yeah.
Like, it really bums me out when people just say 1, 2, 3. I want to know where I can find your food or your interior or your.
And if we want to know that, a client wants to know that. They don't have time and they need to be able to go right to what they need. Okay, there's the food book, there's the cars book, whatever the case may be. Making them work for it is going to lose their eyeballs.
Yeah, because basically they have 2 seconds.
Right. And if they don't find it in book 1, you're going to be really bummed.
Right.
Yeah.
I always forget what I'm going to say. It's such a good scrolling. Do you guys versus clicking? How do you feel about that?
Oh.
I'll tell you, I feel really strongly about it. People don't want to click.
Yeah,
they want to scroll.
You strike me as a scroll.
Scroll.
Scroller. Well, and it's funny because I think that we were talking about the top bottom thing or the left right thing, and I think I prefer, if I'm going to scroll, for it to go up and down, and I think it's because this is just the way the mouse rolls. And I think some people, you're not touching it. So if you're touching it, the left right thing makes sense.
Right.
So, but you could still scroll up. Now we scroll up and down in Instagram feeds. So
that's what we're used to.
Yeah. It's not Tinder.
Here's a question. I have a question. Shouldn't a print portfolio contain images they can't see online as well?
I don't think necessarily, because I think in print that it has a completely different impact.
Oh yeah.
I really do. Because I feel like when I've taken a book to someone, it is so valued just for the tactile nature of it, versus, I'd bring an iPad with new work, but iPad, they've already seen it if it's online. I don't know. The experience, I think, is different. So I don't think it matters if the work is similar or the same.
I think it should be the same, but the Instagram, its feed doesn't have to be the same, but it should resemble the same vibe.
Yeah.
Right. How soon do you guys know? Like, I find it interesting, and I want to find my own words for it. When I go to a website or open a portfolio, I know pretty much immediately. Like, oh, this is good. Can you help me? Like, how do we articulate what makes it so good right away?
I think it's, if you took any one of the elements out of one of those images that you're looking at that make it great, you would realize right away, oh, there's something missing. I think it's just that perfect fusion of great light, great production quality, great composition. It's all of it. And it's, to your point, it's hard to explain. You just see it all come together in a way that you're like, that's a great image. It's really well lit. That is a really great perspective, And if one of those is missing, you'd be like, oh, that's great light, but I don't know what we're looking at. From an interiors perspective, I know, Tracy, we've seen stuff where you see kind of like the back of a chair. And you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Right. So from a commercial perspective, you're like, the person I'm selling to is going to want this to be pivoted this way,
Right.
something like
So
that. But
production value. They have a
production
sense
value.
of what the client is going to want,
Yeah.
whether it's a real job or not.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think there's something about the way, for me, that the way you put your images together is really important.
Yeah.
And and it's very clear to me when they're not well put together or well thought out.
You're talking about pagination, right?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
or your collage even on your homepage, like it's got to be really cohesive and make sense, and it evokes your brand.
Yeah.
Good word.
No, truly. Because then if it does that, it goes back to being able to have an overview type book versus like, oh, this is my food book, this is my interiors book. You can really have something, that creates a cohesive view of your work. One of our photographers is a still life photographer, shoots beauty and food, and it's all in the same book, the cosmetics and the food, and it's amazing. It's just
It flows together.
it flows together so well. The style is the same throughout. He has a really strong sense of light and composition.
So does he have it mixed in together, or is there a section over here and a section over there?
I would say, I think there is a book that we have that it just flows from food into the cosmetics, but like that transition is really well done. And I think it's because just the work is so cohesive. It truly, you can tell right away it's his work.
There's a sensibility that through all that, right?
And for the website, Mary, is the same? Does he have different, are they
He has
in separate
categories
sections?
he has categories on the website for sure, just because we want clients to be able to go where they need. But for the portfolio, when we're doing presentation, we're really giving a sense of his style. And those are usually for portfolio reviews anyway, when we're having those, in-person meetings at agencies. And then we'll do promos that are different, like a food promo, a beauty promo, and so on and so forth, beverage.
On the overview, do you put a mix of all of it?
Yes.
Yeah. I find the overview to maybe be the most important element, and it's a new theory, I think.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I find it most important. If I don't see an overview, I'm like, oh, who has the time to go click?
Well, it also means that in some ways your work could be a little disparate, and you might want to find a way to connect them. We talked early on where I had a photographer who had just probably the best interiors book in the business, and had a lifestyle book that was also amazing, where he got a lot of ad work and they didn't connect. There were the interior stuff was more product and just tons of work there too, in catalogs. But what was missing was adding that lifestyle into the interiors so that it became more campaign in a way. And they just didn't connect, and it was really hard. So we could not do an overview book, and it hurt not to be able to do that.
I think that's a red flag. Then something about the work is not right. If you can't do an overview and have the feel match, go see a consultant.
Yeah, or you at least need to figure out where your strength, where you want to be. And if you want to be more on the interior side, then,
do that.
Do that, and then bring that lifestyle work more into this way of lighting, this perspective, because they were just really disparate. They really were.
Yeah.
Andrea, should we move on to creative call and treatment?
Well, I feel like let's all vote. I feel like we should keep diving into portfolio. Then we'll do this another time with creative call and treatments. Because
up to you guys.
Oh gosh. Well,
yeah, I mean, treatments are a really big topic for sure. We could probably someone said, I want treatments.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, because honestly, we're at a point right now where we're clear that the website and the portfolio has to be what it is. Portfolios are important, but we're not meeting in person at this very moment. So maybe.
Okay. We had a whole lot more questions. Oh my God, like 2 pages. Okay. Let's jump to treatment, and then if we can get to creative call. So treatment, we had Jason Pierce, creative director. So happy he was on, what was it, episode 6. He talked about a treatment for a huge job. He gave it to the photographer who had a looser feel. He really described who he was and how he thought in the treatment, instead of, this is how I'm going to do it. It gave Jason a sense of who the person was, and that's how they'd approach the shoot. be a little looser. Let's go with the flow. It's a library shoot, library of images. So what do you guys see as the purpose of the treatment?
Well, I think it's definitely to express who you are and what your approach is to this specific project. If the treatment is obviously for a job, sometimes we'll do what we call pitches, which is more a generalized treatment of someone's work that introduces them, and that could be a whole other topic too. But a treatment for the job, yeah, should definitely be about your approach to this particular project, what you bring to the table, and them getting to know you.
Right. I feel like it is a little bit about getting a sense of what it would be like to work with you on set.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the idea of the looser. I think we do looser treatments for that reason, because I think people want to know, I mean, some people, and maybe you kind of have to read the client to know that, you know.
Especially for a looser type of job, when this one was a library of images.
Right, he had to know that, I feel like. He had to have gotten some kind of sense of like, oh, they're really more interested in knowing how I am on set, and you know, you kind of have to do your research and figure out who your client is and what they're really asking for in that treatment.
And that can actually come from the creative call where you're listening. What do they want?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. We've had treatments where we have had to very technically address approach.
Yeah.
And that's good and bad. You know, I think that if we have the job, those sorts of treatments are super welcome. Obviously, most of the time we're doing these treatments to be part of a triple bid, and they're going to read 3 treatments and see who they want to work with. And it is really hard. It's painful to impart some of your technical expertise with the fear that it might be used or adopted with whomever gets the job. We have definitely had that happen before. But I think you still got to put it out there. They have to know what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, what your approach is. And
yeah, Jason actually talked about that too. I think we have to share our thoughts, and if they're going to steal them or use them, it's because it was a great idea, but who knows, maybe the other photographer also had that idea. Or maybe the creative was already thinking that.
Right.
Hugh?
I was just going to say, just be as honest as you possibly can. Let your personality shine through, and use a lot of adjectives. That's what I recommend. A lot of adjectives.
And not the same ones. Get a thesaurus out. I had a thesaurus out yesterday.
That's my favorite.
Wait, I've said this word 5 times.
Yeah. Do you think how much words versus images? Like that, this also came up. Emily Hoskins is saying they don't really read the words as much as the images.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think the images should speak for themselves. The images should speak to, that's going to be their final product. So I think image heavy is great. I think if you have stuff in there that is an example of one thing and not another, for instance, lighting versus composition, you should definitely speak to that. You could be putting examples in a treatment that are, you know, you're like, oh, this is the 3/4 perspective they want, but it's not really the background or the lighting. Just call that out just in case they think that you don't know. I'm highlighting this image to show this is the camera angle.
Right.
But on the following pages, please see my samples of, you know, lighter and brighter, just whatever the case may be. I think it doesn't hurt to call it out. The reason that you put an image in there, if it is not relevant to the rest of, you know, the work.
Do you recommend like dappling images throughout the treatment, like as, you know, palette cleansers or page breaks?
Yeah. Almost like having a little chapter thing of like work samples, and then you have your, I think so.
I like having them side by side, the image and a little bit of words next to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
What topics do you feel we have to cover in the treatment? Are there kind of blanket for every type of job? I start with intro.
Yeah, I mean, I think an intro / bio. I think an approach should be in there. I think if you're in a position to put recommended stylists, you can do that, because it just helps boost, you know, this is my team, this is with whom I work, this is how we're going to achieve this.
And to show some of the styling, the wardrobe samples.
Yes.
what it's going to look like.
Do you put a bio in there in the treatments? An
Yeah,
introduction?
A little bit of
Hmm.
talking about who you are.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't make it too long.
no, it's,
I'd make
yeah,
it more
usually-
fun, something personal to you.
Something that gets across your personality.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think lighting is a good topic.
Lighting.
What you just said, or color, or tone, or composition. And for us,
What you love about the campaign you're up for. You know, speaking to, I really love the colors of this campaign, or this really speaks to my work because just making a direct connection from your work to this campaign in whatever way you can, I think is super important.
I think
Right.
that's the whole point.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
The whole point is, why are you the right person?
Yeah,
I can speak to that. My approach is to address every single possible point you can possibly make, because this is a one-time opportunity you have to make those points. Then for me, it's like, then I put out as much as I know for them to make a determination. He might know his shit or he doesn't. Pardon my French.
right. Absolutely. You're almost thinking of the questions they could come at you with, like, oh gosh, this one shot involves X. And you know that's going to be a challenge. You don't want to leave them still questioning how is he going to achieve X? You know, just say, here's how we're going to achieve X in your treatment.
What if a photographer is not a good writer or designer?
Yeah.
I think it's important for them to have a wordsmith and to get someone to help them with the design.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you get a designer to help you with a template that speaks to your brand, you will have it forever. It is an investment worth making. You can change it time and again. And if your rep isn't a great writer, which I really love to write, but if just making sure you have that support as well. But the design of a treatment should be
super
an
important.
investment that you make.
Yeah, and I can recommend Keynote for that, because you can put video and stills in it, and it's super easy. So
Yeah.
Easy to
And
use.
Google Slides are really great too. We use those a lot, as well as Keynote.
It would be so much easier if we could share a treatment and show each other, but we don't, and we feel like we can't. Right?
Right.
Maybe one of our projects will be making a dummy project with a dummy treatment. Like we'll make one up and then we'll do a treatment for it.
Shelley's asking why not? Because
A lot of those are proprietary. I mean, it's proprietary to the photographer. It's proprietary to the client for whom the treatment was made.
Right.
So we have to be very careful.
yeah, it's all top secret. How long do you think a treatment should be? How many pages? In a PDF is how I always.
Yeah, we do a PDF unless we have to show motion, and then we'll do something that can play. But yeah, I mean, I think that depends. I mean, if it's still life job, I don't think it has to be really long. But if it's a big lifestyle campaign and you have to address the stuff, you know, it is inherently just going to be longer. But I definitely don't think it should be a novel.
How
And I
long
think-
have you seen them? Like I've seen them 5 pages, maybe 10 pages sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
about the same?
On the short side, I've definitely seen longer ones, but we were asked for, you know, a longer one. So, but
And
I
I
think,
think-
you know, 10 is
For directors, I know they are like books. So
Yeah.
photographers think you have it bad. Oh boy.
yeah.
Not bad.
Because directors have to speak to all these frames, whereas photographers, the end result is that frame. And you know,
Right.
Right.
Okay. Should we do creative call? I know it's 1:04, so we're a little over our hour. Let's do a quick creative call talk. Right?
yeah.
What, Hugh?
cool. Let's
Oh,
go.
cool.
I
Okay.
say cool. I'm down.
What makes a good creative call? I can answer that unless you guys. Okay. A
You can
good
start.
creative call is when the photographer shows that the creative director is heard. I get your vision, and this is how I'm going to make it happen technically.
Yeah.
To bring out the emotional word, adjective. This is how I'm going to do it. To prove I get it, I hear you.
Right.
Agreed.
Mhm.
And that comes from being responsive on the call.
Mhm.
I know that we're all on that call to listen and grab knowledge. But I think it's important that as much as you can, they are aware that you're listening, whether it's like, I totally get that. Or please continue, or just interjecting some notes of, I'm listening, I'm here, I'm engaged. Because sometimes when you keep, it can be unnerving. I've heard art directors going through a creative deck on a call where that silence is uncomfortable, and you're like, you're there, right? Like, just pipe in and be like, no, cool, I'm ready to move on to the next page, or whatever the case, or that's perfectly clear, let's move on to the next page. Because the silence, you can feel them kind of awkwardly go, okay, well, we'll move on to the next page, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So you want to be
present.
Yes.
Be present. Yeah. Speak up a little bit, I'd say, because if they take a pause, I see that as a way for them to go, right? It's like a pause means a lot.
Right, they're waiting for you. Yeah, they want you to be engaged in it.
Yeah, exactly.
My recommendation is not to get too like tooled into your approach, to be open-minded. Like, I already have everything figured out before the creative call, and sometimes they'll throw a wrench in there, and I'm like, oh, that's not what I planned. What am I gonna come up with now?
Yeah. Being
So
nimble.
Yeah, we have to be nimble. That's a great job.
Yeah.
I actually go on the calls and I take notes to help with the treatment.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
Notes are, if somehow possible, that everyone could take notes or record it. I guess if it's on Zoom nowadays, I haven't had one since Zoom started, but hopefully we can record it.
Yeah.
So creative call, you know that psychology, reflective communication?
Mirroring.
Yeah.
You say back what they just said in your words. All they want to know, I think the whole purpose of it is that you get it.
Yeah.
We get what they want.
Right.
Absolutely. They want to hear confidence from you. That
excitement.
Yeah.
Excitement.
And here's my idea, and you are confident bringing this vision to life.
Confident, excitement, knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Professional, and that you think outside the box. You're fun, you're enjoyable, and you also know how to think of creatively.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't crawl outside your own body and, jump up and down and,
go
to
crazy.
the point of interrupting. You definitely just want to stay engaged and listening and making sure you're and if you don't understand something, I think it's perfectly valid to be asking questions, because it's the opportunity you have to get that clarity. You're not gonna sound like a ding dong.
And if you're kind of don't know how to, if you're a little shy, or you get asking questions is a great way to warm it up and start the conversation, the discussion.
Yeah. And a quick little, secret, we were talking about secrets at the end here, but sometimes I will be on iMessenger with my artist, because I think it's important that if we are both on the call and we're not together, it's great. It's a great way to say, oh, don't forget this, or did that sound, whatever. Just a way to communicate a little bit, but don't text so much you're not listening to the call, but just enough to say, oh, don't forget to ask about this.
So having us on the call is a good idea. I feel like we have to wrap it up. We have more to say, but we can't take too much time. We could go on for hours. So secret negotiation tip to share. Anything that you guys would feel, ooh, I have one I could throw out. Or Tracy, you had one ready, right?
I do have, it's not, I don't know, proprietary in any way. Mine is that I like to be very transparent and realistic and make sure the expectations are clear.
That's a good point.
Really good.
That can save a lot of trouble.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Transparency is definitely important. And I think that, we talked about this before, like taking every call and not making any client feel less than because they don't have a budget. I'll listen through the whole thing. And then I hear that budget. I'm like, well, let me get back to you. I'm going to, speak to my artist, and I'm like, then I'll write the really nice email of, we just don't think this is possible. Yeah. And sometimes that negotiating tactic will bring back more money. And I'll be like, oh, we thought about it. And, sometimes not. Sometimes they're like, well, that's all we have. But I think if you're, if you're definitely nice about it and there's not a what, that's impossible. It's just, well, let me put my thinking cap on here. And then you write back kindly with, we've given it some thought, it doesn't align with our approach. We would need X, Y, and Z. And sometimes with somebody who has a budget, I'll just run a really quick estimate for them just so they see what it would cost. I'm like, this is what we're working with. And if there's any way you can get, close to that, definitely keep us in mind.
That's good. So they see it.
Yeah.
One trick of mine is I throw out a higher number just to feel them out, because I never want to come in too low. Then I'm not doing my job.
I think we're all afraid of that. We're all afraid of being like $200 and they go, oh, we had 5,000.
Yeah.
Is there a rule of thumb? Do you go like, I'm going to add 20% to this or 10%? How do you
Add to what?
To
How
that
do you your high number?
your high number. So you're saying you're getting higher. How much do you do? Do you like say, this is what I think it'll be, but I'm going to add another 20%?
You know what my kind of rule is, I know we would do it for like their fee would be $5,000 and we would do it. Yeah. So I'm going to say 10 grand. I kind of double it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel out every situation. Hopefully I can talk on the phone to them. Yeah. That's where I get the information.
Well, that's where it's hard to do that, that guesswork, because it goes back to usage, right? We're going to make that fee based on the usage. So if the usage and that fee should be 10 grand, we're going to say 10 grand. We could feel out whether or not, okay, this client probably isn't going to have that, despite it needing to be. Yeah. But knowing in your head, okay, we'd probably do this for 5, but it should be 10. Mm-hmm. That's
then I would start at 15 in that case. I just find that I throw out some higher number and it's a way of communicating. And I can even say, I feel like I'm too high, which is true. I'm trying to be very honest, but in a way of, I want to be higher versus lower.
That's good.
Well, then you get that. I feel like that's when, and especially if you're on a call, because then you really get a sense from them if they're panicking or not.
Yeah.
And then you really know, they have no clue.
Right. Then we're talking 2,000 if they start panicking.
They go, well, yeah. I mean, it is all about that call. I agree with you, Andrea. It's like, because otherwise, how do you, it's so much easier to read a person if you're communicating directly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We did it. Okay. Any final comments or thoughts or anything you want to share?
I don't know. I wanted Tracy's story on the creative call person, not paying attention on the creative call.
Well, I think that was actually a story about like, I should have been on the call. I couldn't be on the call with him. And so then later found out, after he had a bad shoot, so to speak, and was really upset with me that he tried to say I overpromised what he could do in a call. And if you felt that way, why wouldn't you have brought it up? And he's like, oh, well, in full disclosure, I was on a boat and I couldn't really hear what was happening. And I was like, note to self, I need to be on all creative calls.
Well, also note to self, it can cause a lot of trouble for anyone who's there but not really there, because you're basically agreeing to what you're talking about.
Yeah, you can't
them to Yeah. Would you guys reschedule a creative call if you cannot make it, and just say, look, I can't make it, and it's so important for me to be on this call. Can we schedule it another
I try to schedule them since I do the scheduling of them.
Right.
I make it around when I can be there.
That's great.
Me too. Yeah.
That's great. To the photographer when you're doing this creative call, because that is the moment.
Yeah.
That creative call is I think more important than the treatment itself, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say also what's not said on the creative call, like, oh, I wish they talked about that, or I heard the creative talk more about that, but we didn't comment. Then we bring it up in the treatment.
Right.
Yeah. And it helps us with our follow-up emails and things like that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Good point.
Cool.
Yeah.
So my final question for all of us, which I love to do this, is what is something you have started during this COVID time that will stick with you in the future?
Talking to you.
Oh, true that.
Our weekly call.
Yes.
Our
posse
group, our posse. Yes.
Yeah. I'm finding also that movement movement. Like I want to look at my business. I'm taking this time to, and is this where I want to take it? Where does SternRep want to go? Do I need any shifting? And, kind of overseeing my business planning. And I want that to stick with me. I always want to do that, but this time feels really important.
Yeah. Well, we're in the grind most of the time. So we do have time to really evaluate and reflect and figure out what's next and how we're going to navigate it all, for sure.
Reflect. Good word.
And what works and what doesn't work. I think it was a good learning of slowing down and taking time. And for me, like personally, like, oh yeah, if I, I don't know, meditated every day on a regular basis when it's not COVID, like I'm so much more better at my job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Hugh, anything on your end?
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be this haircut, this long hair. I think I might.
You're going to keep it.
Yeah.
Does look good.
My girlfriend just loves it, so.
There you go.
She loves it. We love it.
Good. Okay.
Thank you, Mary, Tracy, and Hugh for doing this with us. And everyone, stick around for the wrap up. We'll still have a quick wrap up. Me and you, Hugh and I.
Yeah.
Our plan for this summer is a little vacation time.
Yeah.
So that's our plan.
All right.
And Hugh.
Great.
Tracy and Mary, thank you very, very much for everything.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Always a
being here.
pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I want to thank APA, LA, and Sammy's Camera, who's been a devoted endorser of our programs, and to all of the audience members out there, thank you very much for coming.
Attendees, stay on with us if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gals, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. See you then.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
So Hugh,
Yes.
Tracy, okay. So how was it for you?
Oh, it's so much information. I mean, the idea of putting a bio into the treatment, I never even thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense. For me, it was like my personality is going to come out in the words that I use and the way I'm going to describe this.
Yeah.
Right? But the treatments are going to the actual client. They're not going to the.
That's a really good point.
Right. So that's important.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it is more so than ever a collaboration. I've always deemed a relationship with a rep as kind of a marriage, but now it's just, it's almost like, forgive this, but on top of one another in a way, because there's so much intersection now more so than ever. So it's super important to find the right relationship, not the right rep, the right relationship.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. I mean, we all speak a language. I do it my way. I'm sure we're all a little different. Like these two have their way. And somehow we've found this joined community to talk to each other. We share a language. It's fun for me because I really am so in my own bubble, and photographers, you are as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's such a by ourself.
No, it is. It is a very isolating industry.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, I'm so grateful for this. We have instigated, getting together every 2 weeks, my agent and the other photographers. So we all talk together. That's never happened before. We get together when in the old days, you used to get together for like a Christmas party, but that would be about it.
Yeah.
Now it's just great to hear what everyone else is doing, and then we bounce ideas off of one another. So it's really
to take that further, that's what these webinars, our webinar and other webinars, there's a lot of them, and all the Instagram Live, like we're all becoming a community. It's helpful. I feel like it wasn't really right to think photographers can all do this on their own, by yourself. And I think we're going to get out of this time that idea that you don't have to be alone.
No.
More of that.
Yeah, more of that. Absolutely.
So join the APA. Back to that. That's what it is, right?
Well, that's really what it is. Like I say, you know, we, as an industry, we chose not to unionize. We made that decision.
Hmm.
We could have. And now this is the next best thing because we can get together. We advocate for you guys. We hear you. As photographers, you can keep the closest heartbeat away from the industry by going through APA and connecting with everyone. So
Yeah, it's like an organized way of doing this in a community style.
right.
And you guys have topics that come up in very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you still get to be in school in a way. You still get to learn. You still get to do this together, get some answers.
Yeah, and it's ever changing. This whole industry changes more so than ever now.
It really
All
does.
the time.
Really does. Well, I had fun.
That was great. Good. So hopefully in 2 weeks.
Yeah, hopefully in 2 weeks.
Okay, good. It was great.
I'll let you know.
All right, Andrea. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hugh. I love having you as my guest host.
I really appreciate
You're not
it.
really a guest anymore. You're my co-host.
Okay.
Okay, it's official.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Take
Yeah.
care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.